Good morning and Merry Solstice. I'm Teresa Mitchell,
And I'm Ani.
and this is called This Is Now a Bridge to a Better World. And we want to talk about, the jolly things that are happening this holiday season. They're making us so darn jolly.
Okay. There's stuff. It's afoot, and we all know that.
Yep.
The Mango-Mussolini, as Trevor Noah called him, and that is forever stuck in my head, is promising to end birthright citizenship.
Birthright citizenship, just one of the extra nasty things that Clownigula is coming up with. And I think we need to focus on that and on what's happening right now. It's all of a piece, really. The latest news, of course, is that the Republicans who are continually doing we're going to shut down the government and blame it on a Democrats gig, which has not really worked all that well for them, but I guess well enough, since they did manage to steal the election and convince people that it was legit. So it works well enough, I guess. Anyway, they're up to that again. And they're ready to pass a compromise package so they could do it again in a few months because they like to bring it up every now and again and use it as a wrench to get what they want by saying the government's going to shut down. But Trump has told them, hey, I don't want government shutdowns on my time. I want you to shut it down on Biden's time. So it looks like Biden did it because, my people are so stupid, they'll believe that. And they were getting ready, as you may know, to pass a compromise spending bill, which would have kept the government going a bit longer. And then Musk, who is apparently the new real president of the United States, got on his bully pulpit, the former Twitter, which is now called Shitter. And he threatened Congress. Basically, he used his billions of dollars. And I wonder if people are starting to get an idea just what it means for him to have hundreds of billions of dollars. It means that he can spend hundreds or even a couple of thousands of millions of dollars, a billion being 1,000 million, if he wants, to utterly overwhelm anyone's election anywhere. And Congress knows it, and especially the Republicans know it. With their loyalty to Trump and their loyalty to Musk, they know that what he says goes. And what he said was, don't pass it. It's a danger. Contains these provisions. And he lined out the provisions. And it doesn't matter what he said because he was lying. And it doesn't matter that he was lying because he owns Shitter. And that is still believed, just like Fox News is believed to be a news source. Because just like Fox News, it contains bits of news. If you know how to use it, you can find news from around the world. And if you don't know how to use it, well, it'll just lead you around by the nose. And that's what's happening with most of the country right now.
Well, and actually many accredited news agencies are pulling out of it because it has become such a hellhole. Okay, carry on.
Yeah.
Twitter, that is.
Yes, the looming oligarchy. I mean, we've had oligarchy since who knows when and how you define it, but the looming super oligarchy, let's call it that, very much wants the press to just back down and not criticize them at all. And so that's why it was so horrifying to see ABC News back down to Trump. The basis of it was that Trump was unhappy that ABC News had truthfully reported, and I believe it was George Stephanopoulos had commented that Trump had been adjudicated guilty of rape. Now, you can weasel word and equivocate around that, but there's no way around it.
It's
if
true.
you look at the details, he's a rapist, and I think the technical term is he's a motherfucking rapist. He just didn't like it, and he sued ABC. And now when Trump sues someone, it's always been true that he takes whatever money he has and whatever money he threatens to have, which he's good at, and applies that to the courts, which are basically machines for legitimating the rule of money. But now he has Musk's backing. So he got some money out of one of his scams recently, almost accidentally. And plus he has Trump's hundreds of billions behind him. So now when he says, I'm going to sue you.
Musk's hundreds of billions.
It doesn't mean that he's going to win, but it does mean that it could go on for years and years and break your organization. So in a sense, ABC News
capitulated.
To save their money, they are about money. They capitulated. and that's how you save your money. But in terms of the last shreds of democracy, this is a horrible thing, and it's a sign for what is coming up. So here we are.
That sign would be that we have no free press that is of a certain size.
Yeah.
That the free press we have will be the myriad of very good, in many cases, independent journalists that are reader and listener funded and supported. And whereas I think to an extent, I mean, we have been community radio broadcasters and great supporters of independent media. But it also, at this point in the media landscape, we have to be very cautious around who actually has the facts and who, is another grifting propaganda artist. And so it requires a level of media literacy that most folks in this country have not been trained at.
That's why we're here, actually. We want to apply our 60 years of research and broadcast and, and the occasional and acknowledged error and try to help with this situation in which there's so much bullshit flying through the air that it's hard to see which way we're going. So coming up, as the government is in emergency, and this may be the cause, even though Trump doesn't need a cause, this may be the cause for a state of emergency. Trump has said he's going to be a dictator on day one. This requires a state of presidential emergency. Now, for the sake of war, basically, and in case of disaster, the president has been allowed to declare a temporary state of emergency, but he's also allowed to renew it. And Trump is very inclined to do this, and we know this because Trump has already done it. It may have slipped the memory for some, but when he wanted to build the wall and Congress said, I'm not going to give you money for that silly shit, he said, oh, there's a state of emergency. Now, he can't do that without a cause, technically, but he can do it when he's able to bully Congress into not calling him for it, which is what the case was and is. Not towards the end of his term, but they're very much as demonstrated. As we see, they are very much intimidated by him and the real president, Elon Musk of South Africa. So
ironic.
Yeah. So when they say that they want to blow off the 14th Amendment, they can't legally do it, but they can do whatever the American people are going to be intimidated, fearful, and stupid enough to let him do. So that's what I want to talk about. First, I want to talk about the 14th Amendment as it applies here. Now, it's ironic that he comes in wanting to use the 14th or wanting to abuse the 14th Amendment, because really he shouldn't be allowed to take office per the 14th Amendment. 14th Amendment Section 3 is very clear about anyone violates their oath cannot take office, and only a 2/3 vote can cure their disability of taking office. So there's no vote to be taken to say, oh, well, we've adjudicated you an insurrectionist as well as rapist. That doesn't have to happen. What happens, it's a negative, actually. Congress has to vote by 2/3 to remove an accusation. Yeah. And the accusation could not be more pure since he has actually been impeached for that. So some section of Congress has already said we believe he's an insurrectionist. The table is set. There's no reason for Trump to be allowed to take office, period. And I would like to point out that the Supreme Court, when they were weasel wording the 14th Amendment, did not go so far as to say that Congress couldn't use their 2/3 power to cure him or just say nothing and keep him out of office. What they said was that the state of Colorado couldn't do it, which is kind of a good point. Sort of. It was weaselly. But that was what they did. And it is still legally in the hands of Congress. If you understand what I'm saying, if we were following the rule of law as regarding Mr. Trump, he simply would not be able to take office.
Without
the stands
a
would not be
2/3.
built. And if he wants to be inaugurated, he would have to say, well, I won the election. Congress, please, cure my disability of insurrection with a 2/3 vote. And that is the only way he can legally take office. So when he goes into office, I just want to make the point that if you ever feel any moral force under agreements and your oath to the Constitution, for example, your oath to the Constitution means he's not the president. That's the way that actually is, and everything else is weasel words. But it would appear that the majority of people are willing to cower enough to let him into office, and the inauguration stands are ready to be built. And on the 20th of January at noon, apparently he is going to be allowed to take power again, which is the worst emergency the world has faced in many a day. And one of the first things that he wants to do with his emergency powers is destroy birthright citizenship. And I want to talk about just how insidious that is. Birthright citizenship is in the first section of the 14th Amendment. And it's that rule of law, other sections of the 14th Amendment, for example, guaranteeing that debts will be protected by incoming and subsequent Congresses, et cetera, is what made the U.S. a modern and responsible nation. Well, no more, because Trump's coming in. And Trump wants to say that birthright citizenship is out. Now, he can't do that without, you can't void an amendment to the Constitution of the United States without a two-thirds vote. Two-thirds, let me see if I can get it right. Okay. Two-thirds of both houses of Congress or two-thirds of the state can propose that the amendment be voided or an amendment be created, and three-quarters have to affirm it. It's nearly impossible. So in comes the emergency powers. You can say, oh, I'll just temporarily, for the sake of an emergency, which I will forever renew, we'll ignore the 14th Amendment. This is what he plans to do. And
a constant state of emergency, let's just face facts, is his mode. He has been elected on lies that whip up a fear, right, that capitalize on the dissatisfaction and the financial stress and social stress that a lot of disaffected folks were feeling. And he took all that and came up with lies that were guaranteed to poke the fear button about as hard as possible, so that folks are actually afraid that, the cartel, violent, massacring cartel is running the mom and pop Mexican restaurant down the street. And this is the state of fear that allows dictators to do what they do. Because, in fact, a citizenship is far easier to control. A populace is far easier to control when it is confused and fearful. And so the whole chaos that Trump sort of just has emanating from him, the fact that he does things that you can't do, that presidents can't do that, the sense of outrage just adds to that chaos. The fact that there is no precedent that apparently will stop him adds to that sense of chaos as we lose the floor beneath us, right? We thought we had footing. Nope, turns out we don't have footing. And so that adds that sense of chaos. And then you bring in the fear mongering that he's quite good at. And it's fear on so many levels, right? From the people who are fearing his, the stories that he tells, knowing then that we are a nation close to losing our sovereignty because of the foreign invaders at all borders doing things.
The drones could be that excuse.
I think the drones are becoming that excuse.
Yeah.
And so it's that fear and chaos that creates conditions that are far easier to control a populace in, right? So I wanted to say this is all a design.
Yes, and so an important part of this will be shock on January 20th or thereabouts. If you've read the shock doctrine, you know what I'm talking about. People are paralyzed when they don't understand what's happening and when it's frightening. So you can guarantee that something of that nature, or something that appears to be that nature, will appear right around January, February. And it's going to be up to us to resist it. And what he wants to do is snap his fingers and turn this into Pinochet's Argentina, where he can grab anyone he wants. And let me double down on that. You may recall that he gave special powers to the Border Patrol. Border Patrol retains those special powers. The Border Patrol was made like unto the FBI and the CIA, where the names of the agents are now not to be known. You're not allowed to broadcast them or their faces. They are very special, very powerful James Bond agents now. They are restricted technically to operating within 100 miles of a port. They can designate anything as a port. And so that doesn't matter either. So he has his special Gestapo, and it's the Border Patrol. And they know this. They have been the worst. Oh, I don't know if they're the worst, but they have literally killed hundreds of people. They continue to kill hundreds of people. Not one of them has ever been called out for snuffing someone in their custody, or for killing someone as they arrest them or chase them. They are the Gestapo.
Mm-hmm.
They can ask for your papers. It's that literally similar. And without birthright citizenship, and under those circumstances, the onus, if we allow this amount of intimidation to go through, and if we don't stop every single incident of this, even, I want to emphasize, for brown and black people, then it will be possible for Border Patrol to come up to you, and then you have to prove not just your papers.
Not your citizenship.
No. Were your parents citizens when you were born? Can you prove that? Can you prove that? And can you prove it in time for you not to be shipped off or just held in their facilities? This is coming.
And so I want to point out an article on Common Dreams. We will all be casualties in Trump's war on birthright citizenship.
You know what that?
It was written by Orion Hall. It was published today. In this article, Orion Hall mentions that one of the first applications of this that he could see for all Americans would be when we apply for a new passport, where we no longer have to only prove our citizenship, right? Which we do when we apply for a passport. We have to send in a facsimile of our birth certificates, etc. But in fact, that you would have to prove your parents' citizenship. There's really nothing that would say that you can't have to prove your grandparents' citizenship. And at some point, it becomes very, very hard to provide proof of citizenships because, more than about 50 or 60 years ago, many people born in rural areas had, I'm going to say maybe 70 years ago, I'm getting older, had home births, had hospital certificates, but maybe weren't registered at the state within the certain time. This has happened a whole lot. And it had already started to complicate some people's lives under Trump's first regime. I'm remembering a case of a man who was born in Texas who could not prove, because it was a home birth attended by midwives, and no one ever asked him for stuff before. He just was living in a small town in Texas, and suddenly he could not prove to the state's satisfaction. Anyway,
this is life under fascism, and of course these sort of special powers, since you don't know who arrested someone who is missing, that effectively obviates habeas corpus. Don't mean to frighten you. I mean to enrage you and cause you to decide to take your power and to take your power with other citizens, so that we force Trump into a corner the minute he is inaugurated. This is the only way. We cannot give him any legitimacy, and we cannot give him a minute. One of the powers that he has under the Emergency Acts is to freeze your bank account, pull a little bit of cash. Take precautions. If you don't have a passport, with the right gender on it, get that done now. Whatever preparations you need to face a Pinochet-like dictatorship need to be undertaken before January 20th. So let's go. And let's take the attitude of pushing back very, very hard. Pushing back so hard that Trump will say, it's unfair. We'll know we're winning if he says, it's unfair. We want to make him whine. And we need to point out over and over again that the oligarch, the billionaire, Elon Musk, was not elected by anyone, and the office to which he is being appointed, it has not been recognized by Congress or any agency. It is utterly illegitimate, and that is the word that should be used about Trump. Donald J. Illegitimate Trump.
Well, also, it's fascinating. It's fascinating, this whole anti-immigrant sentiment sweeping the nation that is put out there by Trump and his cronies, when, in fact, that wealthiest man in the world, the billionaire that's buying the presidency, is South African and from a family that enriched itself through apartheid, slave labor, and Nazism. So, okay, what else do we have to?
I think that rounds it up pretty well. I mean, we are getting ready to put ourselves in the hands of people who do not view us as fully human. I mean, this is true of the slave owners of the South in the day, and this is the attitude that they have. This is why they believe it's okay to always, roar around in jets and give orders and make up lies and take over governments, because they don't think of us as people, and it's up to us to show them that we really are. And like I said, let's roar loud enough that they are frightened into a corner, because the alternative is unacceptable.
And we mentioned a little bit ago about the drones, right? The drones that are sweeping news. What to say about that, except for the fact that when I first started hearing the stories within a couple of days, I started really questioning how this is going to get spun, especially under the Trump regime. He's already capitalizing on it by going on the news and saying the government obviously knows what's going on, and Biden needs to tell us. Biden needs to inform the people about what's going on. This is unthinkable that they're keeping these secrets. Just to point out, there aren't really secrets kept from Trump at this point. He's included in all the security military briefings, as every incoming president does. And so this is, if the government knows what's going on, then we're going to say he surely does too. And so he's playing games, as he does, with trying to divide and conquer and demonize Biden, even though Biden is a lame duck president who's about to go out. I also wanted to point out that who has technical capacity for space and unlimited amounts of money to Musk. Okay. We know that Musk has the Starlink satellite systems, which can look pretty weird. We've seen pictures of people going, what's that? And it turns out to be a Starlink system. So building some fleet of large, Mini Cooper-sized drones that are just going to hover around, high security places and make a populace damn nervous. Yeah, I could imagine. I'm not saying he's doing it, but I'm saying I could imagine a world in which he could do that. And what happens, again, when a populace is super, super freaked out? What happens when a populace is scared? We want the protection of Big Daddy. And so what if Daddy Trump, with his special authority in emergency situations, fighting the drones from outer space, from a hostile, foreign government, again, I can see this played out to Trump's dictatorial favor.
23 years ago, it was falling buildings and the Patriot Act, and the idea was imperialism. Now, we don't know exactly what it's going to be, but the shock doctrine works, and it's going to be authoritarian rule that they want to impose. And so let's fight.
If you haven't read the shock doctrine yet, read the shock doctrine. It's amazingly prescient, let's just say. Yeah, and a brother that owns a drone company. Thank you, Tat. Yeah, it's just damn convenient. That's all I'm saying. It's damn convenient. So, in the rest of the world, in the rest of the universe, we are looking at solstice. This is solstice, right? Tomorrow is the winter solstice. It happens at 1:20 something in the morning, Pacific time. It's when the sun enters the constellation of Capricorn, and the world does its slowing and it wobbles.
Yeah, the wobble is slowing. And at this point, the wobble is so slow as to be nearly undetectable. And I just love that. And then there's that 0 point that happens tomorrow, is it?
Yep.
The 0 point. And for me, it's always been a time of gathering contemplation, gathering my personal power.
And that's exactly what this is. So, winter solstice is long associated with hardship, with challenges, with the need to make sacrifice, because winter is often harsh in the northern climates, right? We have to really work cooperatively to make sure that the village was going to make it through to the thaws and the times of more food. And so, in that way, we still have this idea that it's always darkest right before the dawn, right? This is the long, dark night. It's time to face our fears, and it's time to gather our power. And I'm suggesting that as we think about sacrificing, that we sacrifice those parts of ourselves that keep us small, right? It's time to let go of those fears of inadequacies. It's time to let go of the things that keep you isolated and feeling small. We need to be as powerful as we can be. We need to gather our strength. And we can face the dawn, and we know that things will, in fact, get better. We have to hold very strong together through this night. And of course, I'm speaking a little metaphorically. Winter is coming. Okay. And yet, this is that time, right? So, for those of us so inclined, it's a great time to meditate tonight or tomorrow night. There's a little span of time. I don't think the universe is like a light switch with an on off, and it's like, okay, go. But tonight, tomorrow night, do spend some time in meditation, thinking about how you can be your strongest self. And then, in fact, that next morning, breathe in inspiration, breathe in newness, breathe in connection, breathe in love, and be ready to make the world anew with your active participation in it. Okay, that is the solstice message. We can find our way through this maze together. Yes, as John writes down the mythic dance of the Holly King and the Oak King, this is the time that switch happens between the harshness of summer and the bounty of spring. All right. With that, I have some cards. We have the Hermit. I love this picture so much. I can't even. Okay, the Hermit. We also have the Nine of Wands. And we have the Four of Swords. The Nine of Wands and the Four of Swords are inversed. What does this all mean? It means that it's good to take some time to gather our strength, right? The Hermit is about going deep within, finding quiet and stillness and wisdom. From the point of the observer, it is gathering all the wisdom that one can. You have the widest view because you are quiet and just keeping all of your senses open to see what can be seen and to take it in. And the other two cards are quite similar in meaning. The Four of Swords talks about how it is, in fact, a time to rest, but to understand the difference between pulling back because we need to rest and pulling back because we're terrified and paralyzed, right? One is resting. It's good time to take care of yourself. Self-care is important. Hot beverages, hot foods, rest, sleep, drink a lot of water, all of those things, yes. But also make sure that you engage. To take care of yourself doesn't mean that we are now, how do we say, escapist. That's it. Downtime does not mean escapism. It means thoughtfulness. It means meditation. It means resting, but all with the idea that we are gathering strength to re-engage. We are not held paralyzed by our fears. If we are held paralyzed by our fears, that's no longer resting. And it's important to reach out to your support system, reach out to your friends and your fam, reach out to your mental health support, reach out to those around you and engage. The Nine of Wands talks about engaging from your safe place, but it's inverted, and that tells me that it's time to actually engage. We can make that safety for each other, but we have to engage in our communities. We have to engage a little bit. How do we say? We have to take down a few barriers, right? So that we can fully participate in our lives and not, again, from a place of being shut down and only talking to a couple of people because you just can't even. And people, why are people? I mean, certainly, I have said, why are people myself? But people are grand, people are loving, people are giving, and people make up our communities. And it's so very important that we hold together, that we get out of our comfort zones and actually engage in the hard work that needs to be done, and that we do it together from a place where we are taking care of ourselves, so we aren't making, we are able to add more to the whole, because we're putting our own oxygen masks on first and then helping the community. Rest versus withdrawal is exactly where it's at. Rest well, but when you're feeling like you can't engage anymore because, oh my God, those people and everything's nuts and you can't, and then really call on your support system and find a path back in. That's what I have for our solstice reading.
Well, it's well said.
Love you all so very much. Thank you for being a part of our community on Friday mornings. We really look forward to chatting with you all. This is now Bridge to a Better World. I'm Ani.
I'm Teresa.
I don't know that we ever did that at the beginning of this.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, good. And have a blessed solstice. Do hit the like button, thumbs up this video if you've been enjoying it. Please share it with your friends and family. Hit the notification bell and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already.
Yep. Make the things happen.
Thank you all so very, very much. And
Yes.
We'll be back next week.
I'd like to send our love out to all of you and to all the ships at sea. Bye. I'll be reading your comments.
Cheerio.
Merry solstice.